Hello, and welcome to this screencast about searching Union's online databases. I'm Ben Phillips from Union's School of Education. Fortunately, the days of using the old card catalog in order to locate reference materials are days that are long gone by. Instead, it's the electronic resources that our students almost exclusively use for their research papers, for their theses, for their dissertations. It's funny because even when you visit the library, students who are in the physical library are oftentimes using their laptop in order to access electronic resources. This is a screencast that helps us find those electronic resources and how to really dig for the ones that are sometimes difficult to locate. Our screencast is divided into 4 parts. First, we're going to look at finding the right databases. This is going to be particularly for our students in the School of Education. From there, we'll talk about using Google Scholar, and then a section on putting it all together. Actually, there's a quite strong relationship between Google Scholar and how that can help us find the right resources within Union's databases. The last part is we're going to dig even deeper. Some of our doctoral students, for example, who are needing some reference materials for their dissertation, have to really go below the surface to find some articles and certain materials. And so we'll talk about some techniques to do that. Let's begin though with that very first item, find the right databases. Of course, Union has subscribed to a variety of databases for lots of the disciplines, and in particular for education, they have 5 databases they recommend. One is ERIC, the second called Professional Collection, the third is Wilson Web, the fourth Academic OneFile, and the fifth Academic Search Premier. There's other databases that might be helpful, for example JSTOR and maybe others, dissertation abstracts for some of our students. But predominantly these have been identified by our library staff as helpful when you're searching for education-related topics. Let's now go to Union's library webpage and see how we can get into each of these databases. And so from my desktop, I'm going to click on the internet. I'm using a Mac, so I'll be in Safari. Obviously this would work just the same in Internet Explorer on a PC. And I'm here on the library's main web page. If you typically go to uu.edu for the university's web page, you can click around and find the connection to the library, or you can just use uu.edu/library. Probably a good idea to save that as a favorite. From this particular page, to get to the education databases, we're going to use the link here that says Research Guides. I click Research Guides, and it brings up all of the research guides that our library staff has designed. They're ranked by popularity, the way that it's ranked there by default, and here is the education. In other words, education may not always appear as number 4 on this page. It depends on which ones are being used more frequently. We'll click on the education guide, and from the education guide you'll notice that there are a series of tabs across the top. I'm most interested right now in the tab labeled Articles. Under the Articles tab, you'll notice the subject databases, and here are again some of those databases that I mentioned earlier that were particularly designated for education students. Those are subject specific, and as you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll notice there's some general databases that also contains a lot of material related to education. Now let's take a look at actually launching into one of the databases and begin searching for some articles. I'll start with one of the most popular places to start for education, the database labeled ERIC. While all of the databases do not work the exact same way, they are extremely similar as far as having search options, and usually there's the basic search options and advanced search options, and then different places where you can narrow down your search and all that. And so while we're going to look at ERIC and maybe 1 or 2 others, basically you kind of get the hang of it after you've seen it in one database. I'm going to search for a popular topic in education right now, that is standards-based grading, and let's see what happens. I just put that in the basic search box there. It brought up 272 results. In the ERIC menu, you'll notice here under the Show Only options, One of the things that we typically are going to want is we do want to click the option that is peer reviewed. That is to say that the manuscript was submitted to a board of experts in the field, in this case again education. They've reviewed the topics, the manuscript, and then designated that it was worthy to be published. And so that helps me with knowing that I'm finding good research. The second thing here is I'm very hesitant about the full text option. I'm going to explain that a little later in our Putting It All Together section of this screencast. However, for now, if I do know that I need an article full text and I need it pretty quickly, I am going to go ahead and select the full text option. And then now let me click search again. I've narrowed down to, looks like, only 5 articles. EJ articles, J in that abbreviation stands for journal. That generally means we're going to find some more scholarly type material. ED documents means it could be from a wide variety of sources. It could be maybe even papers that were shared at a conference or other publications from government agencies, something along those lines, not necessarily a scholarly article. And so if you're looking for that peer-reviewed article that's from some that needs to be a scholarly piece, you might even need to select on the EJ articles. But let's see what I have. First of all is an article about grading and report cards for standards-based physical education. And then I have assessing individual performance in the college band, voices from the front lines, teachers' perceptions of high-stakes testing. So far I'm not exactly seeing what I'm looking for. Here's criterion referenced grading. That's a little closer. And then I really don't see that in Article 5 either. You'll notice that Eric is highlighting in yellow as it's picking up on keywords, and it took my phrase, which I really needed to be together, standards-based grading, and it split it up. And so this is grading for standards-based physical education. That's not exactly what I want. Also down here, it split up. It found the word standards, it found the word grading, and it found the word based, but it didn't find what I was looking for, standards-based grading. One way to resolve that is in the original search box, what I should have done is put in standards-based grading in quotation marks. That tells a search engine to keep that phrase together and find something that hits on all 3 words. You'll notice it split this up. The understanding was it looked for standards and based and grading. Let me go back and see what else I can come up with by trying that again. So back to my screen, I'm going to put quotation marks around this and let's see what happens. It found 14 different articles. Let's see if I had any luck with it. Here's one. It finally says, investigating the use of standards-based grading in Nebraska's rural classrooms. You'll notice I don't have the link about how to find the full text article. It doesn't show that the PDF is like ready to download. By contrast, look at my number 3. This is using standards-based grading to assess students' strengths and weaknesses. See how this is a Master of Arts Action Research project? It's not a scholarly journal, and so it's not an EJ number here at the top. It's just an ERIC document. Right now, ERIC is going through a process of looking at all of their full text articles that are available online. For example, where you normally have this click here with the PDF and it opens up the full text. You can read their warning that they're going through right now as I'm making the screencast, that they're having to examine all those again because they had some issues with confidentiality in some of their full text articles. All of these along the left column are going to be some things that would help in the search for ERIC as you begin to, I guess you would say, drill down to certain types of articles. Notice that you can drill down based on author. In this particular topic, Thomas Guskey is pretty well published, and so to click right there, I would get all 4 of his articles. Here's some other descriptors. ERIC in particular is a database that relies heavily on the use of descriptors, and so when you really learn some of the terms that you're looking for, it helps you in your search. You'll notice that the descriptors for each article are listed underneath the article itself, and so I began to learn some of the things that ERIC uses. I guess you would say their terminology in how they link up keywords or put tags. They call them descriptors for their articles. So once I found the right article that did indeed talk about standards-based grading, it's possible that I could find some descriptors that would help in my search. I could also locate articles based on the date, and so as I'm looking for things maybe here in the last 5 years, and some other information here where you could sort or drill down through some of these topics. Now let's take a look at using some of the other databases to find some articles. Let's go into Professional Collection. You'll notice as I've come to this screen, this is the right screen you want to see as you're searching Union's online databases. When you are off campus, you have to identify yourself as a Union student or faculty member using your credentials. If you don't see this screen, that likely means that you have some kind of problem, because you do want to see here that you're verifying that you have access to these databases. By the way, when you're on campus, you don't have to list anything here. It's going to automatically go into the databases. One of the things that's great about Union's technology is that once you have that one login, username and password, it's the same for everything. So that's the same password for checking your email or WebAdvisor or some other web-based product. And so now it's going to go into that database knowing that I'm a Union student, even though I am off campus. Notice this is very similar. The home screen does have an advanced search, meaning I have multiple keyword boxes there to put my terms in. It's already selected to documents that are peer-reviewed publications. I'm going to try that same topic, standards-based education. Let's do grading. And I learned my lesson about the quotation marks. I want to go ahead and put that in quotes so that it will pull up. Wow, only one. However, it does indeed have standards-based grading in the article. And so while it doesn't look like the full text article is going to be right here in this particular collection, let's see if I can get some help finding the full text article. This takes me to a feature within Union that's called the Link Resolver. And the link resolver you cannot access directly. Instead, you access this indirectly, just the way it happened, from a database to this page. The professional collection did not have access to that article. However, the link resolver dips into all the other databases to see if it might be available somewhere else. In this case, it looks like I have several links, and this article is in some different places. So let's see if I can find this article using one of the databases listed. I'm going to click on the one here at the bottom, the OmniFile Full Text Select. It brings up the article, although the article is only in HTML full text version. You'll notice it over here in the left link, it says that. If there were an option there to select the PDF, I would always want the PDF version. The PDF version of an article looks like the exact scan of the article, so the page numbers are there as it was printed in the original journal. All of the figures or tables look exactly like they would have been in the exact journal as it was published. However, in this case I don't have that option, but I do have the access to the HTML version. As I slide down my page, you'll notice that the article is printed right here as a web page. And so the pagination is off some. Sometimes the graphics don't look as good, although in this article it seems to be okay. But if it's the only thing that I have, then it's the article that I need, and so I could print or save from here. But what I could not do is get that exact PDF version. I do want to draw your attention to the upper right hand corner of the screen. You'll notice that the logo for Union is on this screen. And so that just reminds me that I am searching in this database, but I'm using my Union credentials and taking advantage of the access that Union's library has to all of these articles. Let's take a look at one more of the databases. We're going to go with Academic OneFile. Notice again how similar the search engine is to others. Let's go with standards based grading and see what happens. So there's the same article that I pulled up earlier from another database, but I do have another one here, putting classroom grading on the table, a reform in progress. Let's see what that looks like. Here is the abstract, and so let's see if we can locate the full text of this article. Again, it takes me back to the link resolver, and the link resolver shows that I have two articles here that I could possibly, two links here I could possibly pull this article from. Let's see what happens. And now notice I do have two options. Within this database I have the HTML full text, which is probably going to be right here on this page. Yes, as I scroll down you see what's happening. It's right here as a web page. That's my least favorite option. So let me go back up to the top and select the PDF full text option. Now it looks exactly like it would have looked as it was printed in the journal. One of the nice things again about that is the pagination. And so when you list your entry in your reference page, you know the exact page numbers to list. It looks like it starts on page 67. That's also important. If I use any direct quotes in my paper, I have to put the page number according to APA style. And with that HTML version, I really don't know what page number it actually appeared on. So this is going to be really nice. At this point, if I want to print it, I have some tools over here on the right hand side. So there's print it. But a lot of times it's nice to simply save these PDFs and have them on your computer or a jump drive. And so you might want to look at the tool to save it and then build all of your articles into, say, one folder within your computer.